let's back it up.
Crime is on the increase in the United States, and Louisiana is 7th from the top when it comes time to add up the crime rate. But some people are fighting back, either by organizing themselves into street patrols, or by organizing the eyes and ears of a neighborhood, or by talking about the crime that used to be unspeakable. Tonight, a report on fighting crime in Louisiana.
Good evening, I'm Beth George.
I'm Ron Blome. Welcome to this edition of Louisiana, the state we're in. This week, our entire program is devoted to crime in Louisiana, from the elusive statistics on just how bad crime really is to the attempts of citizens to fight back.
You would think that with all the government agencies involved in the fight against crime, there would be a clear picture of the scope of the problem. But to our surprise, we found that wasn't the case, and we'll report on that at the top of our program.
We'll also have the stories of 3 different programs aimed at fighting back, from the street patrols of the Guardian Angels to the successful Neighborhood Watch program. And finally, we'll report on a crime that used to be unspeakable, wife abuse, and a program aimed at reaching out to the battered woman.
On Monday, the administration of Governor Dave Treen will be turning its attention to the problem of crime when a special commission on criminal justice presents its recommendations. The commission was created to find statewide solutions in the fight against crime. Yet we found it interesting to learn this week that when it comes to pinpointing the facts on crime in Louisiana, it's a case of every man for himself. Violent crime is on the increase across the United States. In 1980, nearly 5 million households were touched by rape, robbery, or assault. That is, at least one member of 6% of all households in the country were victims of violent crime. The state of Louisiana stands 7th in the country. If these facts and figures are alarming, they are necessary data. The first step in combating crime is to know the problem. But in Louisiana, we may no longer know just how serious the problem is.
2 years ago, Louisiana had what was called the Louisiana Criminal Justice Information System, where we operated our own statewide uniform crime reporting system. And then we, the state, would gather this information, verify it, and send it up to the FBI. At that time, we had 100% participation in our program, okay, for all of the various forms. And we collected data on the number of offenses reported to police, the number of offenses cleared by arrest, the number of arrests made, who was arrested for what. Law enforcement officers killed and assaulted. Now, all of this data is still being collected by the FBI. The drawback, what makes the data not as valuable now as it was then, is that we have fewer agencies reporting now. We had 100% participation in 1979 when the state operated the program. Now that participation is down to, I believe it's 94% for urban areas and 87% for rural areas.
Carl Jackson is research director for the Louisiana Commission on Law Enforcement. Jackson says the state at one time had one of the best programs for reporting crime facts and figures. But as federal funds were cut, the program was eliminated. As it stands now, local law enforcement officials must send their figures to the FBI in Washington, which in turn sends the information back to the states. The latest data now available is from 1980, but that's not the whole story.
For example, if someone wants to know how long does it take statewide, what is the statewide average for getting from arrest to conviction? We cannot answer that question right now. We could have, but we can't now because we no longer have the data.
This defunct information system was part of a federal program that pumped $900 million into crime-fighting programs across the country. Elmer Litchfield, formerly with the FBI, now heads Louisiana's Law Enforcement Commission that administers the remaining federal dollars. How serious is the problem of violent crime in Louisiana? Do you see any trends here?
I would think that
Louisiana is, you know, pretty well tracking the patterns in the rest of the country, because you have some areas that have traditionally been higher in violent crimes than other areas, and we're talking about murder, aggravated assault, rape, crimes of this nature. And I think that these tend to be more urban type crimes, and the more urban the state becomes, as the incidence of these crimes rise. And of course, any place that you have a transient population coming into, like we do in some of the areas of South Louisiana, especially where the oil industry has exploded, you have a lot of transits, and I think that this is one of the major factors or causes of crime.
If there is official recognition in Louisiana that combating crime is a top priority, there is some disagreement on just what the proper corrective steps to take are. But few should disagree that knowing what the problem is must be the first step. Somewhere the state should have up-to-date information. It may not garner headlines, but as any fan of police shows should know, the first thing you want is just the facts, ma'am, just the facts. That information gap may be closed. Governor Treen indicated this week that he will support funding to bring back the statewide reporting system.
If the statistics of crime in Louisiana aren't clear, its impact on the citizens is. People are afraid and looking for ways to fight back. Some people are fighting with rhetoric by demanding law and order, but others, like the Guardian Angels, are fighting back on the criminals' home turf. New Orleans, the city that care forgot and the tourist discovered. A city known for good times and the celebration of Carnival. But New Orleans is known for something else. Like most big cities, it has become known for its crime.
Give it a description, man, no problem.
Crime in New Orleans. For Ambrose Campbell and his wife, the stories became reality last Thursday evening when they were ambushed in their car by two thieves and stabbed to death. The two killers are still at large, and the fear that lies beneath New Orleans' sometimes festive facade continues to haunt not only its visitors, but its citizens. Some citizens respond to the fear of crime by staying off the streets. Others arm themselves. And a few, who call themselves the Guardian Angels, have organized street patrols to fight crime. The Guardian Angels began in New York 2 years ago to patrol that city's subways. And this summer they were brought to New Orleans at the invitation of the city council. Who are the Guardian Angels? In New Orleans, they are young, they are in school or work, and they all seem concerned with how safe the streets are for their families. Why do people want to become a guardian angel? Do they want to be the big man on the block? They want to help out their neighbors? What's the reason?
A number of different reasons. Some people like to become angels simply for self-improvement, others for city improvement. A lot of different reasons you'll find.
Rhett Smith, age 22, is leader of the New Orleans Guardian Angels. Last summer, he was hoping to recruit 300 members. But reality brought numbers that were less than expectations. He says he has 17 active members, 40 trainees, and a number of inactive volunteers. But if their numbers are small, they have picked a patrol route guaranteed to give them maximum visibility. Down Bourbon Street, followed by a sweep of Canal. But are the Angels effective and desirable?
No, we didn't invite them, but they're here. They're private citizens. They have a right to walk the streets if they choose to. As long as they don't violate any laws, we have no objection to them.
But the police department really isn't recognizing them as any kind of citizen crime patrol. You're not having any real direct communication with them. They're on their own.
Officially, as far as the police department is concerned, they are a group of private citizens. We aren't giving them any official standing whatsoever.
Is there a problem with them being out there? Is there a fear that the police department has that perhaps it might turn into a vigilante kind of operation?
We have no indication that that is a probability. It's always, we feel, a possibility. But at this point in time, we have no reason to believe that it would turn into such a thing.
New Orleans police spokesman Sergeant Lynn Schneider says there is no way of telling if the Angels have deterred any crime. He notes that they did make one arrest of a pickpocket who turned out to be wanted for murder. But despite that one success, the Angels remain an enigma, a small band on a crime patrol that is not always well received.
One thing that the city definitely needs is more help to try and stop the majority of the criminalistic activity now in progress in the CBD and French Quarter areas. That's why we think that it's essential that the Angels patrol this area in certain because it is a tourist trap, a really big tourist trap. So we'll do as much as we can to assist the police in every way we can.
Looks like it's kind of a thankless job for your group. Not everyone, I guess wants to see you out here. Some people trying to make fun of you, but you're taking it seriously, the job.
Very much so. We take your life as well as everyone else's life very serious. So when we're out here, we try our best to be on up and up, and we expect people who have problems to come to us with those problems. And I know they don't want one who's clowning around and bebopping, they want someone who's serious to really help them out. That's why we do it.
Do you think you've made a difference, that you've put a dent into things?
There are no statistics inside to really back us up, but we hope, we don't know, but we hope that we have just helped just a little bit, just a wee bit.
Of course, one of the first persons that you apprehended, a pickpocket, turned out to be a man wanted for a more serious crime.
Yes, that was murder. That was a one in a million thing. We were lucky that time to catch the guy. Most criminals know who we are, and rather than to come towards us and do anything, they'll go around the corner and try. This guy was just dumb enough to do it.
Yeah. Why are you an angel?
Because I tell people I love the city.
But you spend a lot of, it's a real personal sacrifice for you to spend all that time, isn't it?
Very much so, but I enjoy it.
It's worth it?
I enjoy it.
The Guardian Angels, like any regimented group, may at first seem not quite for real. A great deal of attention is paid to the security at their headquarters and to making sure that members obey the rules of no weapons and no drugs. It is a chance, though, for the members to be somebody, a chance perhaps to be a hero in service to the city. However, while on patrol, they did seem more attuned to the insults that came their way from the heavy drinkers than to the goings-on in the side alleys. But the Guardian Angels are on the side of the law, and if they have their way, they will be around in the future to try and stop the kind of ambush that took the life of Ambrose Campbell and his wife last Thursday night. Well, the Guardian Angels' approach to fighting crime is a little extreme, calling for sacrifices of time and possibly personal safety, all for a return that is hard to measure. But the success of another program is measurable and dramatic. It is called Neighborhood Watch, and law enforcement officials call it the best thing that ever happened to fighting the burglaries and break-ins.
A deterrent is anything that you can do to keep
In this quiet neighborhood of Baton Rouge, the residents are plotting their strategy to fight crime. Their accomplice, the city police.
The Neighborhood Watch program is a program of police and community action to prevent, report, and stop crime. The three phases of the program consist of
in Baton Rouge, as in many other cities across the state, the city police and sheriff's office are working to organize residents to look out for each other in the Neighborhood Watch program, a program designed to stop crime. Neighborhood Watch is key to having neighbors learn more about each other so that they'll be able to detect anything out of the ordinary and report it to the police. It sounds simple, and the results are effective. For instance, in another neighborhood of Baton Rouge, just 3 months ago, burglaries, break-ins, and thefts were commonplace, leaving residents frustrated over what to do next.
The people here, they're not the type to move from one place to another, and they were just sticking it out and doing the best they could at the time, trying to help one another. But what you need is exactly what the sheriff office developed here. That is the Neighborhood Watch. That's what we've been dreaming for and trying to think of how to do it, see, without any much expense to us, because you know how it is, money sometimes is short. But they come through and they're doing fine, and we're doing fine. We feel at ease, and it's been worth every ounce of work that we did.
Carl T. Janson has lived in this North Baton Rouge neighborhood for over 30 years, and he says the area's crime rate plummeted after the sheriff's office helped them to organize a Neighborhood Watch program.
The Neighborhood Watch program is sort of a vehicle to assist us in law enforcement. What we're doing, we're getting the citizens, the homeowners involved, where they are concerned, on the alert, be on the lookout for different things such as suspicious vehicles or person, and report this to law enforcement. And it's probably one of the best crime prevention program in the nation today. It was started here by Sheriff Amos.
Captain Ronnie Brouillet of the East Baton Rouge Parish Sheriff's Office has been involved in organizing Neighborhood Watch programs since Sheriff Al Amos embraced the concept 8 years ago. He says that over 25,000 families have been organized in the parish and that it's made a difference.
A potential burglary. He watches television, reads the newspaper, and listens to the radio, so he hears about this. He goes in an area, and if he sees these signs, you know, the psychological effect, say, hey, somebody might be watching me. Now, those people are human. Even though they're criminals, they don't want to get caught, and that makes sense. So this is why the signs alone is a deterrent, but mainly the most important thing, the people, the citizens are getting involved. They're just fed up. You know, they're fed up with all the crime, so they say, hey, let's get together, and this is what this program does. We're using them, again, as a vehicle, Ron.
Captain Brouillet and Mr. Janson both agree that what is really behind Neighborhood Watch is the old principle of know thy neighbor, or to take it one step further, know thy neighborhood and those who live in it.
This is what we try to do, to meet your neighbors, know your neighbor. You'd be surprised how many areas we go, they don't know their next door neighbor. They know them by name, last name, or sight, and that's it. They don't know where they work. They don't have any idea they might be moving the next day. We had an incident not too long ago in one of the subdivision. 10 o'clock in the morning, a U-Haul truck backs in front of this resident, and they strip it completely. Every piece of furniture is gone. There's a lady across the street that saw the truck. However, she didn't pay too much attention because she didn't know the people that well. She thought they were moving. They were not moving. When they returned at 5, they noticed what was happening. So when the deputies investigated the offense, they talked to this lady, and she said, yes, but only the description, that was a U-Haul truck. But you see, through the Neighborhood Watch, she'd have known these people were not moving. She could have got a description or called right there, and we could have called them. So this is what the people are doing now. They're calling because they're getting involved. They want to see, we have some areas where it's getting competitive. See who will have the safest block. How long they can go without a crime, and that's good. Let's make it competitive, because this is what it's all about.
And the cooperation was just stupendous. You take, for instance, we had 310 homes covered. And out of the 310, not one, and I mean not one, balked against anything that we wanted to do. And they agreed with it.
All of this, with the brochures we give them, it's working. It's fine, because again, those people are getting concerned, they're getting involved, and they're working through their block. They have block leaders. You see, this is very important. You've got to have block leaders, someone to coordinate the program, each block, and motivate the other people where they can place decals, put decals on their windows, make sure they all get a brochures. The best part about this program, Ron, and as again, like I explained to them, there's no way you can lose. You know, it's free. There's something in for you. I mean, you can come out ahead by joining the Neighborhood Watch program.
Participation is the key to Neighborhood Watch, and not every neighborhood has been tempered by a crime wave and embraced it as heartily as Mr. Janson's and his neighbors. Captain Brouillet estimates that 10% of the neighborhoods that consider Neighborhood Watch don't follow through on the program. And according to Baton Rouge City Police Officer Marianne Hagan, it is that follow-through that is crucial. The key resting on the motivation of the citizens who are trying to make their neighborhoods safer.
We have felt for some time that it's helpful for us to know each other better and to watch out for each other. Some of us have been doing it for a long time anyway, but we're just broadening the scope a little bit and just keeping an eye on each other for safety's sake. And
kind of taking old-fashioned good neighbor policy one step further. Is there a lot of concern about crime among your neighbors?
A certain amount. We've had some break-ins, and then we have this park problem you heard about tonight, which is distressing to a lot of people around here. And I don't suppose we have any more than any other part of the city, really, but we just feel safer doing this, and it's something we can do.
Anytime you can cut down on crime in any given area without additional law enforcement personnel, something's got to be working, Ron. And it is, but the citizens, we are working together with the community. That's what it's all about. If we can do that, who knows, we might be able to make Baton Rouge the safest city, safest parish in the nation. There's no reason why we couldn't, because we have over 25,000 people now throughout the parish, inside the city, outside the city. This involves about 40, 45 subdivisions, more or less, Just think if we could get at least 75% of all the subdivision in East Baton Rouge Parish. That's how much safer we could make East Baton Rouge Parish.
But Baton Rouge isn't the only city getting safer because of Neighborhood Watch. New Orleans, Alexandria, Shreveport, Lake Charles, and Lafayette all have active programs, and they are all seeing a significant decline in home burglaries in the neighborhoods that have joined the program. In the war against crime, Neighborhood Watch is working.